Jump on against the record it just in case.
Aye, on you go, Kieran. Jump ahead and do it. You do it. Just in case. It usually works fine. What is it?
Give me permission to do it.
Oh, fuck, aye. How do you do that again? I've never done it before.
See, when I said that, I was fully expecting you to go like that. You may record.
Oh, that'd be a good way to fucking start it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the first edition of the new and improved Sellik the Thunder podcast. If you're a OG in the channel, if you've been here for a long time, you'll remember that we had this series a little while ago and there was a few of the boys involved, but we're bringing it back. We're bringing it back in spectacular fashion and we've got some new people on board. We've got some familiar faces on board. It's sure to be a good laugh. Now, just to quickly address before I introduce the two lads beside me, in the future, they will not be on Zoom. It's just the fact we're back into Tier 4 now here in Glasgow, of course. It's a bit difficult to meet up and record, and also I've still got to get something sorted for the backdrop. I don't want to be the only Celtic podcast with Alan McGregor in the background in the video, so we need to try and get something sorted. But until then, they will be on Zoom, so please bear with us. But I'm excited to get the series up and running anyway, and hopefully a series that everybody can enjoy and get involved in. So, without wasting any more time, I'll introduce, first off, a man who was part of the original run, Mr. Kieran. You recognise for TSF. How are you doing, Kieran?
I know, bad, man. A wee bit different about 3 years later coming back.
Exactly. The voice has changed a wee bit, innit? And as well, down in the bottom side of the screen, another man you'll recognise from TSF, Mr. Calum, Craig Calum. Of course, we're trying to put on a brave face here, but how are you feeling anyway?
Yeah, not too bad. Taking yesterday into considerations, but that's what it is.
You have to just move on with it, don't you? It's just, as I said, put on a brave face and pretend everything's okay. And of course, moving forward as well, we're going to have another new face involved. A good mate of mine, Ryan McGinley, he'll probably be on next week. I was actually wanting to get him on this week because he's been letting it rip on Twitter, man. I don't know if you've been keeping up with his Twitter feed. He's been letting it rip. And a good mate of mine as well, a guy from the old series, Mr. Calum McKenzie, who will hopefully be on as well next week. So we may as well start with what we've briefly touched on. And I'm just going to ask a simple question. I'm going to come to you, Kieran, first. It was Celtic 0, well, Rangers 1, Celtic 0. Is the league gone? Is that it? Is it over?
I think even the most optimistic of Celtic fans can admit that it's pretty much done and dusted. It would take a miracle, gargantuan proportions for this to get turned around, and it's just simply not going to happen.
It was yesterday, we all knew the kind of the magnitude of the game. What the players had to realise was it was do or die. And we'll come on to the performance, because the performance for the first 60 minutes looked as though the team realised that. It looked as though we were actually going out with a game plan that was working, with a mindset that was to go and win the game. And in the blink of an eye, all things changed. From that first 60 minutes, Kieran, you would have had a smile on your face. But in the performance in general over the whole 90, give us your feelings towards the game.
It was a weird feeling, but because for the past few Old Firms you've went in, you've had hope, but then you've just had it completely dashed by the way we've played against them. It just seemed like we'd never had a system to play against Rangers under Gerrard and when he's got them improved. But you had the hope yesterday, but I think everybody when we went into half time was thinking the same, that us not taking the chances we're going to come back and bite us. And obviously we went down to 10 men, but it was proved that it did actually come back to haunt us, missing the. Obviously McGregor made a brilliant save or two in the first half, but still chances that should have been put away.
And here we are, regretting every single last moment. I mean, Calum, didn't there? I said in my video yesterday, the point I made was, fuck me, like that must be how they felt in that League Cup final. How frustrating was it that first half, just watching as McGregor made save after save. Griffiths comes very close. There was another couple of chances as well, but that Griffiths one in particular, it was just such a nightmare to watch, wasn't it?
I think, as you said, it was like our cup final.
Aye.
For them last year, it was just constantly battering at the ball, we're constantly breaking through, making chances to get forward for ourselves. But McGregor was phenomenal for him yesterday. He can't take it away from him. And what is he, 37, 38? Something like that. He's still
I think
good about
he's
it.
coming right up to what, 40 now, isn't he? Like he's knocking
Something
the
about
door
that,
at
but-
40.
oh,
It's
man.
mad. But Neil Lennon, he came out after the game, and let's talk about one. Let's talk about the thing that changed the game. Let's talk about the red card. Number one, very quickly, Kieran, I'll come to you first. What the fuck was Beaton playing at, man? Why? And I know we spoke going into it. We both knew, and Calum, you'll be agreeing as well. But Kieran, we spoke about it in particular. We would have loved Julian to be fit for the game. That would have been the ideal situation. You have Julian and I are there. You would have been very comfortable, very happy with that. A lot of people saying, can we trust Beaton? That yesterday is an example of why we can't trust Beaton playing at centre half in these big games. What a blunder, man.
I've been saying it for ages. I do not trust Beaton at centre half. I just thought he's always got a big mistake in him, and yesterday's just proved me right. Obviously, it's not a game that I want to get proved right in, but it was absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what he's thinking. Just let him through and go and maybe have a shot. Just let him have a shot. Because, I mean, obviously, Morelos is obviously choking to score against us, but his record, let him go through and have a shot. Just keep up and try and put a block in. There's no reason to take him down there. And it's a red card every day of the week.
Oh, I was going to be my next question. I was going to ask you two, was it a red card? Very quick, before you keep going with your point, Kieran, was it a red card, do you think, as well?
Aye. You'd
right,
be stupid to think otherwise.
Aye, go on, you go, Kieran.
No, but just for people to come out and try and act as if there's this sort of conspiracy against us and never a red card, change the game. It's absolutely ridiculous, man, because it's a red card every day of the week. If that shoe was on the other foot, we would be screaming for it.
Absolutely.
We'd be screaming for that. And if you're a Celtic fan sitting there saying, nah, that was only a yellow, you need to have a word for yourself, because that was a red every day of the week.
I know you're choking to go at war with the Celtic guys, and I'm sure a lot of the his face. I'm sure a lot of points will come up throughout this, and we'll bring it. I'll wait. This is like the get it off your chest special to start us off. There's going to be a lot of things we talk about regarding the manager's position moving forward. Yeah, there's so many things we'll talk about. And Kieran, I know you're dying to jump in with points around it all, but Calum as well, like what Kieran's saying, this mad conspiracy theory and all the rest of it. Even we've got the manager peddling the whole thing that he was blaming the ref for the game. Look, Celtic's season hasn't been good enough. The fact that we're in this position and then the manager's coming out after the game to blame the referee, for me, is absolutely ridiculous. But that yesterday was a blatant red. We have to accept that, and it's what threw away the game. It just sums up our season.
I know, with that out, like, obviously continuing to say, referee done this, it changed the game. It did change the game, but it was a red regardless. Mm-hmm. It's not as if it's it's a 50-50. I've seen people saying, Ayer could have got across. But as Kieran was saying, let him go through and have the shot. Because if you see the angle he's at, it's very unlikely that he's going to score. If he scores from that angle, then fair play to him. But
I know we all know he's a talented striker, a good finisher. But it's not easy. It's not the easiest, as you say, angles to come through and get a goal.
Aye, it's not. It's just stupidity.
The manager is undoubtedly, for me, at the position now where, we're here where we have to accept that he's going to be manager to the end of the season. He's not going to be gone. If he was going to be gone, it should have been 2 months ago. It should have been by this time of the day. We're past that point. He's got to be here. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if he's still Celtic manager going into next season. I wouldn't be surprised if he sees out his contract at Celtic. Kieran, I'm going to let you take the floor for a minute regarding everything that you've seen and all the rest of it, and Neil Lennon, his position, and where we are as a club. And on you go. Just say any point you've got to make, mate, regarding Lennon and the fans split at the minute.
I mean, I've been very vocal in the fact that Lennon should not be Celtic manager. I don't think yesterday's result is going to change anything in that regard in the short term. I think I do agree with Yankee will be here until the end of the season, might even into next season. But the fact that I've seen Celtic supporters completely... Before I make that point, I'm going to say, right, fair enough, yesterday was not Lennon's fault. We got let down by Neil Beaton getting a silly red and changing the game.
I'm very glad that you're actually going to make this point. It was something I forgot to leave out. On you go.
You can't fault Lennon for yesterday's performance. We were immaculate up until the 60th minute. We looked a better team. We just wanted putting away chances, but it wasn't his fault. But the fact that we are in the position that we are in, 19 points behind them, fair enough, 3 games in hand, but it's not in our hands anymore. It's no. We can go and win the games, win the next 2 outcomes, and we're still points behind. Yep. So we're waiting on people to do us favours when we can't wait on people to do us favours. If we can't beat Rangers, how can we expect other teams to do us a favour this season? How can we, with the biggest budget in Scotland and supposedly the best squad that we've been shouting about all season, expect other teams to do what we can? So it's just...
I've seen so many, especially older, and I hate always having this on the channel. I feel like I'm always very guilty of coming across and just disregarding the older support and saying, like, you don't matter. That's never what I say. Look, everybody's entitled to an opinion. Whether I believe your opinion is correct or whatever, everybody's entitled to it. And I feel like I always come across and saying those opinions don't matter. But there's older guys that I'm seeing thrown about, and it's not everyone. I'm not generalising every older Celtic fan in this boat, but so many of them that are saying, oh, Hibs and Aberdeen will take points off them. How can you be so confident that's going to happen when how many points have they taken them off Mystic? 2? I think Hibs have drawn with them once, and that's it.
Livy, I think, as well.
And Livy the only team.
Exactly. Like, what evidence do these people have to suggest that these claims have any merit? Because you can go and say the last 2 seasons have capitulated, but the past 2 seasons they won the 19 points Clady has gone into what would have been the winter break.
Aye.
Well, either level in points or they could have caught up with a game in hand. There was never this big a gap gone into it in the past 2 seasons. And for people to even, like what we're talking about, I think Lennon will be manager, but see, for people to come out and completely disregard the idea that I've seen people maybe suggesting, right, damage is done, why not get somebody into plan for next season, give the new manager 2 transfer windows to work with, build his own team, and people have jumped down their throats saying, don't be a fucking prick. Lennon done the club, Lennon done that. We played brilliant yesterday. Like, we got let down by the players, we got let down by Beaton, but Lennon is the reason that we are in the situation that we are in. Should have been out the door months ago. The damage is done, and I knew this was coming.
Calum, you got anything to add on top of that? The kind of, as I said, it's the kind of get it off your chest special. And Kieran has covered a lot of what I think all 3 of us would believe in together. I think we all come from a similar mindset of Celtic fan. But have you got anything to add on top of that?
I think, as Kieran was saying there, like we sort of seen it coming. I think there was a banner last season with the Grimdigade, so don't sleep at the wheel. That's just came out and proved itself well and truly.
Aye, we've been sleeping at the wheel.
We went with the easy option. We thought, Lennon will do it, she's over the line. That's what he should have been brought in for. He should never have been put in a long term, and look what it's done to us.
So Kieran brought up a very good point in terms of transfer windows. We'll kind of segue out of yesterday's game. I'm sure there'll be things in the questions that I've got here that will kind of bring us back to that at the end of the episode. We'll segue into the transfer window here. It's a transfer window which for Celtic, this time a month ago was pretty much one of the biggest windows we're ever going to have in terms of what we need to do to strengthen our chase of Rangers. But now, is that chase just inevitably gone? Is it? I said last month, it's like a legless Pistorius against Usain Bolt. There's not much of a chase left. We're kind of gubbed. But the transfer window, Kieran, I'll let you start us off. What does Lennon have to do in this window? What do you want to see? And ultimately, does it really make a difference to where we're going this season?
I think we're not going to see a lot of long-term options. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a few, even a loan deal in to try and cover for the centre-half position again. Or I think it will be indicative of what's going to happen with Lennon. If we go out and spend money, I think he'll be here in the summer regardless of what happens. Purely for the fact I don't think the board will give him a lot of money to spend if he's not going to be the man that they want us to take us forward. It's just a weird one because if we won yesterday, we've got a real charge to go on and try and challenge them for the title. What player's going to want to come up here now to play for Celtic? We're not an attractive option now. Fair enough, you'll get game time and that, but I think the abuse that you'll get our fans and that if we continue to play poor, it's not an attractive option for people to know. And it's baffling because for the past few seasons, if you go back a few years, think of how far ahead we were at Rangers. And we've stagnated, and not even just stagnated, we've regressed as a club with the standards across the board. The quality of player that's been getting brought in, fair enough, had some good signings in there, but the amount of dross that we have signed has been unreal. I don't know how we can go for having such a big gap between us and Rangers to then allow them to catch up and do it, especially in the last season of the 10 in a row that we've spoken about for so long. It's just unforgivable.
Because the thing is, Rangers were inevitably going to catch up at some point. It was always going to happen. We're only going to be miles ahead of them forever. But the fact that it's happened at this point and happened so quickly when we were so far ahead is so worrying. And it brings me on to a question for you, Calum. In this transfer window, you look at the last two windows Lennon has had, and on paper, I would agree in saying that they are two very successful looking windows. You look at his first one, he brings in Julian. That was probably the biggest signing of that. But who else was in that summer? So we had Julian come in. We had somebody else ringing it. He was probably the biggest because he was a big centre half signing that we had that kind of changed things. Who else came in that window? Try to think. You had your wee Bolly and Golly, your Hatem, Abdel Ahmed. There was a lot of signings in there that were decent and a lot of bad. And then you come into this window and it's fell right in his face. So my question to you, Calum, is do you trust Lennon with the recruitment anymore and the team that are currently there? Do you have any ounce of trust in the recruitment process?
Not really at this rate. I mean, if you look at transfer window at the start of the season, you bring in a £5 million striker and Albion Ayeti doesn't get played.
No.
Then Shane Duffy, don't get me wrong, you could ask any Celtic fan before he even kicked the ball through, you say, oh, you're bringing in a Premier League centre half. Unbelievable. And then what has he done? Hee-haw.
That's an understatement, Calum. Hee-haw.
I think this transfer window, the generally just has to be one to plan for the future.
You think so? Would you rather invest your money in younger players and try to build for what will be the next? So here, let me put it like this: you'd rather, because I think I'd be on side of you'd rather sign young players and now to build for the future rather than players that could come in and try and close this gap with Rangers at the minute.
Personally, also,
you want to close the gap, obviously.
Yes, also I want the gap closed, going 110, but the way you're looking at it, it doesn't look like that. So it's more to think ahead of yourself now.
Kieran, were you going to bring in a point? I said you were about to say something before I asked Calum a question there.
I've got a couple. It's just I don't know if, like, on your point there, I don't know if we're going to go out and throw the kitchen sink at it and do a last ditch attempt to try and save this. If Dermot Desmond wants to throw everything, we'll go at it. But I think even the board can take a look at this and think, no matter how much money we throw at this, it's not going to happen. And I don't know what calibre of player we could even get with the money we've got.
It's ridiculous we've got to that point, though, isn't it? Though, like the board will actually be sitting at their chairs, at that table, in the boardroom, they'll be sitting there and going, wow, it's gone. Like, the fact that they've allowed it to get there.
But it's also, but we'll talk about recruitment and that, with Lennon's recruitment. There's been a couple of good signings in there with Julian and that, Turnbull. But the thing that annoys me is it's happened a couple of times now where, even if we go back to, remember the Clues game where we go beat at home in the Championship qualifier, and everybody complained because we had Julian and Bolingoli on the bench.
Aye.
Like, two big signings, two big money moves, about £8 million, about
That's
10 million in transfer fees, sitting on the bench while we get pumped at home after Clues. And then this season, we're poor form, with Sorrow and Turnbull, who fans were screaming to see all season, and they didn't get a chance until it was too late. It's just
a complete incompetence. That's what that is.
Like, we've got players that we've spent big money on, sitting on the bench, no getting a look in. Obviously, fans have wanted to see them for ages and they've not even seen them until the past month. Fair enough, went in a good run of form, but yesterday just completely... Oh, it's just a show what's happened at Celtic this season. It's just so frustrating because there's nothing that you can do.
It just it sums up the club head to toe, doesn't it? From the man at the top and Peter Law and Dermot Desmond, or the man at the top, sorry, to right down to the bottom. You know, incompetence and negligence all round. You know, the fact that these players have been sitting on the bench and all the rest of it. So we'll come on to another point to do with the transfer window. I think we'll agree that one of the big places that we'll need to look forward to signing someone is centre half because of Julian being out. Calum, how big is Julian going to be a miss this year?
Oh, it'll be massive. I mean, we even seen it when we had to play Duffy in at centre half when he was out with his back injury. You know, it brings that sort of, he lifts you a bit.
Aye.
Like, he lifts the players with enthusiasm. It's
because he's a player who's definitely, I think with Julian is he might not be technically anything amazing. You know, he's definitely had great games. He's nothing that's he's not the world's best centre half by any stretch of the imagination. He's probably not even one of the best centre halves in Scotland when you just gauge him on an average game. But he definitely, as you said, he brings a kind of encouragement to the team.
He brings something. He has those big moments for himself, i.e. cup final last year, the goal against Lazio. He brings you big moments. Whereas we cannot go in with Duffy and Beaton. You just put your backup centre halves.
Aye. And what's really annoying is Kieran, it looks as though we've let the transfer Mark McKenzie slip through the fingers. I think he's close to agreeing a deal with the Belgian side Genk. And that also goes as well for a player who we've been linked with for about 6-7 months now, Bright Asai Samuel of QPR, who was available on a pre-contract. Feyenoord have now, Fenerbahce, always mix up the two. Fenerbahce has apparently jumped in and getting close to agreeing a deal with him. It's just, it kind of just, as you said, Kieran, earlier, who wants to come to Celtic at this point? And are we making an attempt to get anybody? And what do you actually expect from the window at this point, man? It's just a mess.
I don't even know what to expect from the window. If I had to say what I do expect, I expect cheap options.
Cheap options.
Whether it be on pre-contracts or paying small amounts to get players here on, like just before their contract runs out. Would not be surprised if we got Declan Gallagher in for Motherwell. Seeing the season, we've got 6 months left in his deal. Don't know how I'd feel about that. Been part of a struggling Motherwell side, done quite well for Scotland, but if we released him when he was younger,
I know, but bringing him back at a point where he's really struggling just kind of goes to show everything.
It's just, you don't know how this window's going to go. We'll see over the course of the next few weeks, but no real hope for any. Like, when I was talking about throwing the kitchen sink, it just reminds me of going out and getting Robbie Keane on loan at the end of the season, like trying to get like that.
Should they bring him back?
Aye, man. Probably,
he'd probably be better than what we've got to do, man. Jesus Christ. There's a few players like that I think the Celtic guys would love to see come in. You know, let's partner Shane Duffy up with every Irish international at the end of their career. You know, just anybody that fits the mould. Try to think of old Irishmen that could just jump in. I mean, everybody's dying to see James McCarthy play for Celtic, isn't they? Let's get him in, even though he's Scottish. Let's bring him in anyway.
McLean up as well, just for a buzz.
McLean, that's the one. That's the one. And he's no Irish, but he can't forget the one every summer. Robert Snodgrass, you know, he's a Celtic man.
Oh.
So let's bring them all in. They'll save our season. Answer the SOS. But that's everything about the transfer window well uncovered. A couple of more talking points that we have to go through before we get onto the questions. I would believe. I'm just thinking back here here's a wee throwback, Calum. You won't know this. So at some point, I want to bring in something like fun for the show. As I say, I've always wanted this to be like a light-hearted Celtic podcast, something we can have a laugh about, something a bit different from. And obviously today it's been a bit more, it's been a bit more downtoned. But Kieran, do you remember back in like the original run, we used to do the Who Am I's? Yep. What is that? Mind I tried to do the BT one.
You've done the one that played for Rangers instead. I'm sitting there like that, just doesn't add.
So I done what one played for James and Craig Beattie, and I done.
You swapped them about. Anyway.
I swapped them about.
Stoke.
Forgot about at this point. I forgot who actually was the one that played for Celtic again. Very irrelevant players.
People could probably find that in the old videos, to be honest with you, couldn't they?
Well, I think they're still up, aye. They could get a glimpse of what it was all about and the old voice and everything else. Calum, I can tell you what, you're an upgrade from Paul anyway. Well done. Well done.
Oh, cheers, man.
Right. Celtic go to Dubai. Is it the day or the morning we go to Dubai?
Last night.
Last night, or they already leave? They on the plane?
Flew after the game last night.
Well, what's your opinion on that, Calum? Have they got some cheek?
What's the point in it? Like, see if we won yesterday, fair enough, go over there, work on what we done well yesterday, keep improving on it. But now it seems pointless, and plus with the full COVID thing as well, it's a bit arsehole-like.
Aye, exactly. It's a bit. That was the point I was going to try and like come towards in this video or this podcast. You know, people are complaining about players going abroad and this, that, next thing. We're in tier 4, this, that. Why the hell are we going out there? What's the point? I think they've been a bit stricter right enough, but Kieran, you're ready to say something there, I think.
It's obviously within the rules now. Apparently we're allowed to do it, but I just think it's a fucking disaster waiting to happen.
Aye.
Like,
imagine we came back and we had like 4 positive tests or something. Oh dear.
No, that's what I just feel. Like, what is the point in doing this at this point of the season? Just
you wouldn't hear the end.
Chuck a couple extra fucking thermos on, get back up to Lennoxtown.
I know, aye. Up the hills, up the country's nice enough for you up there. Ah, exactly. I like your thought of that. But the obviously the Celtic guys are greeting about the fact that Rangers aren't gone this year. which is always a good laugh, you know, because of course the Dubai break is going to bugger them this time. Like the last couple of years has been very, look, do you know what? It's been understandable watching them come back and collapse because they have had such a weak inside, I think, compared to this year. And they've probably just been getting to grips with Gerrard and Charles and such, and they've just never been in the position where they were 19 points clear. I think you could send Rangers to a fortnight. And honestly, what's that place called again? If I go to name it, it slipped my head.
Belgrove Hotel.
Belgrove Hotel. You could send them. I'm thinking, what's that place all the prisoners in America go to?
Guantanamo Bay.
Guantanamo Bay, actually, man. You could send them a couple of weeks in Guantanamo Bay, and they still want to come back and bottle a 19-point lead at the top of the table. I don't know why people are greeting about it as if, like, you know, if they went to Dubai, we'd win this league, and they're not going this year, blah, blah. It makes no difference, man. Come on, surely. Look at your face, Kieran. You're just like that.
I just don't know what goes through some of the heat. Some people, man.
Well, I'll tell you what, got some good news. A gift from Zoom. Running out of time. We've removed the 40-minute time limit on your group meeting. Oh, that's nice of them. Merry Christmas.
We can continue to rant on.
Merry Christmas for Zoom, fuck's sake. Right, but the bye break, will Celtic come back a better looking side? That is a simple question. Very, very simple answer. Yes or no. Calum, is it going to make any difference at all?
For me, nah.
Nah. Kieran?
I doubt it. I'd like to think so, but I doubt it.
Well, suntans will be made, so that's all right, I suppose. Right, we move on to the next game for Celtic again very quickly, and of course, it'll be a quicker break over to Dubai with no proper winter break. You know, we're back playing on the 11th of January. We've got a game against Hibs to start us off, which isn't ideal. But you look, right, this is the worst part about everything for Celtic, right? The next 3 games that we've got Hibs at Celtic Park, which, of course, we've already won 3-0 against Hibs at Celtic Park last season, but I don't feel like that comes into any sort of relevance towards the next game, considering how we've been since then. You've got Hibs at Celtic Park. Then you've got Livingston back-to-back. Livingston right now are a team who would have a better shot at winning the title than Celtic. They are playing so well. Kieran, the next 3 games, and we'll talk more in particular about Hibs. What is your thoughts going into it?
I mean, every game's always a must win, but it really is now because there's not really much we can do. We just need to go out and play our game. Just try to get the form back and that we're playing well going into the Rangers game. Can't fault us, but played well for the first 60 minutes. I just think we just need to take it game by game and see what happens. As I said earlier, I think everything's pretty much done and dusted, but we can only do our part and just hope that others step up for us somehow. But we live it, but we Hibs, I think it'll be a tough game. It always is. At Celtic Park, I think we've got a better shout than what we would at Easter Road. We really don't seem to like going to Easter Road at all. We also don't like going to the Tony Macaroni.
We don't like going anywhere at a straight, to be honest.
I'm not a fan of going anywhere now. But it's just in previous seasons we've struggled there, and fair enough, they've done all right in previous seasons as well, but they've picked up a good bit of form now, so I'm really not looking forward to it. Fancy it at Celtic Park, but on the AstroTurf, no fancy in that at all.
Calum, Hibs, of course, the last couple of games have kind of fell away from it a bit. Aberdeen now have a very strong chance of making themselves the strong. Do you know what I was going to say there? I was literally going to turn around and say they've got a chance to make themselves the strongest contender for the third place. But see, to be honest, actually, it could be us finishing at third. So there's not even a point in me saying that right now. But the way Hibs have been playing, it couldn't come at a better time for us, I suppose, considering the fact that we do need to bounce back with a win.
I think Hibs, as you said, they were a bit sort of touch and go. Like yesterday, getting beat 3-0 at home off Livy. I was baffled after that game. At least a draw over it. Thought obviously with Livy playing well, but I thought Hibs would have set up better. But I think obviously we say it's a good game for us to come back in. At the same time, Hibs always a bastard for us to play.
Aye. No. All it takes is for something like Nisbet step up, big game, bang, you're beat.
For me, I don't feel like there is an easy game for us to come back to at this rate.
Aye.
The way we've been going, it can go hard miss.
I know it's crazy that, you say, I think you're spot on. There is no easy game for Celtic to come back with a minute. So if you were to look in the situation where you go, say, the easiest game for Celtic to come back would be like Hamilton at home. Yeah, Brian Rice has started getting some good football today, even though they probably would give us a tough competition. So I know you're spot on.
He got a result yesterday as well, I'm sure.
3-0 against Motherwell,
No.
And that's another manager who's stepped in and done the thing that a lot of people would have wanted Neil Lennon to do. You see Stephen Robinson step back and go, look, I'm done here, before his reputation gets absolutely bamboozled by fans. They don't want to know him anymore. So look, Kieran's like, why did you sum up? Well, I know, I couldn't think of anything better to say.
What you just said, tarnished.
Tarnished would have been a far better word to use. It's that way, you've been talking for that long, you just forget what words are. That's actually a good question for you. Now that it's in it, do you think Neil, Kieran, you first, do you think Neil Lennon has ultimately ruined his reputation at Celtic? Do you think that's it? Or do you think that we will? Do you think in 5 years' time we'll look back at Neil Lennon, we'll look back at what he's done at Celtic over the course of 20 years and go, do you know what? 10-0 wasn't that important. Like, of course, it's very raw just now. What do you think?
I don't know. You might start to forgive a bit more, like down the line. You can maybe look back and say, like, one is a treble and all that, but it's obviously got to be tarnished a wee bit just for the fact that he's refused to step down. Fair enough, he's got to play a bit better now. We'll have a better understanding when it comes to May, but as it stands now, I think he has definitely put a dent in his reputation by staying at Celtic when there was everybody in their masses wanting them out. Everybody could see it was the right thing to do to leave, and everybody knew that it was going to eventually end in us getting beat at Ibrox, and it all went exactly as everybody thought. So,
Calum, yourself, you in the same boat? Would you ban him from ever entering Celtic Park ever again?
No, I think that's when it comes back into the debate. Also, we've seen him as to what the Celtic does. I've seen him. So they've seen him play. He's club legend, this, that, and the rest of it. But personally, for me, he should have stepped back a bit before when that bad run of form. We've put it in TSF, the packet of Starburst.
Aye.
I think now you just need to rock the boat and go.
Can I just say as well, I would love for nothing more than Neil Lennon to turn this round and us to go and to stop it, to go and win.
Oh no, without a doubt, aye.
I want nothing more than that to happen. I'm not out there to try and say, I want Neil Lennon. I just want us to get beat. Like, I would never want us to get beat so Neil Lennon gets sacked. Nobody, I don't think there's many people there that would want that. But just to clarify that, I still hope that he's the man to do it. I've said this for ages. I hope Neil Lennon's the man to bring home the 10, but realistically speaking, we've known for a while now that he's not going to be the guy to do it.
Aye.
And I don't think there's anybody that can come in at this current moment and even change it, because we said we were going to leave it too late to make any real impact. And that's exactly what's happened. 19 points left.
Aye. Look, I echo everything you've said there, Kieran. I think, look, I've always loved Neil Lennon, and I think I always... well, do you know what? I don't know if I always will at this point, but you know what I mean? It's like, I'd love nothing else, as Kieran said, to see the man be the one to lift 10 in a row, but it's just, it's got to the point now, it just seems extremely unlikely, and things need to change, but look, we've been saying that for months, so there's no point in rehashing it. Right, okay, we're coming up to the last couple of segments of the show. We've spoke about the old firm, we've spoke about how we're going to be going moving forward, we've spoke about the transfer window, we've spoke about the next game, so it's a wee bit of fun here, right? 2021, Happy New Year, boys. By the way, I'm not even saying this is only the second video I've done on the channel in 2021, and it's obviously the first of the Sellik the Thunder. So I kind of want to have a wee talk about 2021 and look forward into the next year of football for Celtic. I'm just going to ask some questions. I'm going to come to two of you. I expect an answer. You can make it long, short, or whatever you want. Some are easy, some are a bit harder. So it's all regarding 2021. Right. So the first question. By December 2021, Kieran, will Neil Lennon be in charge of Celtic?
No.
No? Just as simple as that, you don't think he will?
I don't know. It's a difficult one to answer, but I would rather it wouldn't be there. Like, in my head, I had it as it would be gone regardless. Say win the league or no win the league this season in the summer, and we'd get somebody new in. It would be something different. But at this stage, you just can never be sure. But I would rather it wasn't manager going into next season.
But Calum, yourself?
Personally, I would rather it wasn't, but if I'm going with Man City, I think the board will keep him in there. I think they'll still have him in charge.
Think about there. I said at the top of the show, I have this dark feeling that he's just going to see out his contract. Even if we lose the title this year, I just don't know. And I think I'm just going off the evidence that has been suggested by the board so far. We have this faith and that faith and everything in Neil Lennon. I think they might think, once we have fans in that back in the ground, I just have a horrid feeling that he's still going to be in charge of the club.
How long actually is left on his contract?
So I think it's, he'll see out this season, and then I think it's the 1 year after that. So the next season, I think that's how long's left in his contract. So people have been giving out this figure about how there's still £5 million left in his deal, because I think he's on £2.5 million a year. So that's the reason we've not seen him walk away. Madness. Right, second question. I think I've got 5 or 6 of these second questions, and I'm hoping that I hear a resounding yes from the two of you. Well, we have a 60,000 person seated stadium. Well, 60,000 people be in Celtic Park come December. Kieran?
Aye.
Hey! For the sake of all our mental health, I bloody hope so. Calum, you?
Aye. I
was hoping Mary's were going to turn around and just be, nope, don't get your hopes up. Not at all.
Nah. I'd surely be must. I mean, the way things are going, you'd like to think so.
Well, they seem to be confident this vaccine will be out sometime. What is it, spring they're saying by everybody's to have
people vaccinated by spring, I think, because they're delaying the second doses to get everybody the first one.
Well, as long as Gavin Stratton gets his, I think we'll be all right. So let's hope for the best. Question 3. Right, here we go. Who's going to be Celtic's best player over the course of the next 12 months? Kieran? No, it doesn't even have to be best. Most influential, but anything like that. Who's going to be the best?
Between Turnbull and Sorrow, I still think they two are going to be mainstays in the team, and Sorrow's a wee canty, isn't he? Just bring up the blame.
Adorable.
But by the two, if I had to pick, I'd probably say Turnbull, just for in terms of goal contributions and that. I think he'll be up there with the top.
David, too used to say David Calum yourself. I think it's because he's talking about Turnbull.
I'd have to completely agree with you. It has to be Turnbull for me. You've seen it in the last few weeks, what he can bring you. And more game time he gets, more time he proves it.
Man, so it would have to be Scott Brown. I think that we've come to know how good a player we get. No, I'm joking. David Turnbull. I still find it humiliating that I picked Scott Brown as my player of the year shout on TSF this year. Oh, man. What a nightmare. Look at Kieran just shut his eye.
You jinxed that man's final year of his career, man.
David Turnbull. Well, it was for the best. Next question is this, right? And this one is going to be quite interesting, I think. Will Odsonne Edouard be here come December? And if not, how much money are we going to get from Kieran?
Not a chance. And I don't even know how much money we could expect from him now, because if he went this summer, his stock was very high. Mm-hmm. But he's had a very stoked start season this year, not been at his best. If we can get a lot of good performances out of him in the run-in to this season, maybe see about £20 million. But even at that, because he's only got the year left in his contract at that point, I think it's going to be a big ask for clubs to pay that. So I really don't know.
Calum?
Yeah, man, the same as Kieran. I don't think there's any chance in hell he's here come December. But I don't know. I think we'd be lucky to go up to the 15 million mark if he continues the way as. If he can pick up form and play well, then I also can boost up. But as Kim was saying, he'll only be into the last year's contract. Because we'll just wait a couple of months and take him 50.
Nah, exactly. We've gubbed it. Unless nobody could convince me. Like the person I love most on this planet couldn't convince me that we're going to sign a new deal with Edouard over the next few months. So we've properly gubbed it, and I think that you might be right in saying that we could only see about 15 million quid come through the door for Mr. Edouard, but we'll wait and see. Right, I think that's it. I thought I had more questions, but that's all the questions to do with 2021 from myself. Very quickly before we get on to the end part of the show and ask about the questions that people have thrown forward. What did we make of Kieran Tierney's goal last night?
I know, it was a peach, to be fair.
Miss him big time. We need him.
Yeah.
I mean, you put him up beside the likes of Greg Taylor and it really makes you wonder what went wrong. It's just a sign of the regression, isn't it? It just kind of sums that up. Right, so we've got questions from the people today, and I'm not being funny. I think there's Rangers fans who will be asking questions, but I've got a few here. So let me start with Aaron or Aaron. I don't know what one he has it pronounced like. There's too many nowadays. Considering this summer we will have to do a massive rebuild, do we let some players go just now so we have the funds sitting there for a new manager in the summer? Or do we recruit some new signings this window so that they are settled for next season? And who would you take as next manager? So there's a kind of double barrel question there, and I'll start with you. I'll come to you, Calum, first for a change. So what would you do? Would you like to see the rebuild kind of start with the signings this window for next season, or have fun sitting there? But what do you think?
Personally, no. I mean, who's going to pay big money for our players now? Considering we've not been in the best of form. I know players will want away and such, but same time, I don't think we're going to get as much as we'd like to or expected, So personally, I'd rather just keep them here than now, do what we can to sort of fill up the gaps this window, and then let them go in the summer.
Fair enough. Kieran?
I know, I agree with that. I wouldn't mind maybe shifting some dead weight, but in terms of Cham, somebody that many Celtic fans have peddled the idea for years now that he's best player in the country on his day and all that, but when's his day?
I know. When was the last time he actually started? Never mind anything else.
I think he's a cert to go either this month. He's certainly away come next season, but I think he's probably going to leave us in this January transfer window, and I really wouldn't care too much.
Nah, I think I'm beyond the point of caring now when Cham goes.
I think he has his day once every leap year. Once every 4 years, he's got that one good game in him.
A lot of talk about Ryan Christie potentially leaving as well. That's somebody that I don't think I'd want to leave in January. I can maybe accept him leaving in the summer, but
in the summer, aye.
The thing is, I've accepted fully for the last 4. And Kieran, you know, we've had this conversation in the ground. Obviously, just to give context here, me and Kieran go to the games together. We sit beside each other. Calum sits at the other end of the stadium, didn't you? But me and Kieran have been saying this for years. I have fully accepted for the last 4 years that this summer coming was always going to be a rebuild for Celtic. It was never going to be the same team we'd see going into next season. And at that point, when I used to say that, I'd expect it to have been Brendan Rodgers' last few games as manager as well, would be seeing over the next 6 months. Of course, it never panned out like that. But the way it also hasn't panned out is I always accepted it was going to be a rebuild, but under the understanding that we'd be winning 10 in a row. So it just shows so much has changed in that amount of time. And I think that I'll agree with the two of you in saying about how we approach these next few windows and what we do. I think I'm on side with you guys. It's ultimately, it was always going to be a rebuild. I think it's just unfortunate it's happened the way it has. So aye. Kieran, I thought you were going to say something there. Is that you? Aye.
No, it's just just thinking back to how naive we were. Sitting there thinking that end of this season would have been Tierney and Rodgers not that leaving.
I know. I was in 20.
Wave for the fans.
I was fully in 2016-17. I was fully ready for May 2021. Moussa Dembele, Tierney, and all the rest of it, and Rodgers lifting the trophy together. Oh man, what stupid bastards we were. We're played by a con artist. The next question comes from Lewis, who says, under a new, so if presuming Celtic were to say today a new manager's coming in, under a new manager, could we turn that around, or is it gone for good? And should we just focus on trying to win the Scottish Cup? Kieran, come to you first.
I don't know. I don't think any manager could turn around the deficit we've got now to overcome. 19 points is just a wee bit much, isn't it?
Aye.
You can hope, but I think we're just going to stick with Lennon until the end of the season, realistically. I don't think any manager's going to come in, and I don't think any manager would come in and rejuvenate the team to go in and close the gap. So, nah.
Calum?
Nah, personally, I think it is any manager you could work into that chair now that would turn over the deficit and take us on to win the thing.
Gone, innit? It's absolutely gone. It brings me on to a point actually I forgot to bring on, and there's not even point in having this conversation, I think, but I'm just going to ask very quickly for your quick fire answer, because this conversation I think is so far gone, and as I've said, I don't expect Lennon to be going anytime soon. But who would you take as the next manager if it was just so we can look back on this very first episode? Remember, we had this conversation. Who would you take as the next manager, Mr. Old?
I don't know. I'd probably take somebody like Slaven Bilic, Eddie Howe. I wouldn't mind something like that. Just I can sit here and realise that next season's going to be a rebuild, and it will be maybe a project thing. It's not going to be a quick fix the way Lennon was supposed to be. I think it will be a style where somebody comes in to build a team, and it's somebody that's going to want to be here for the long term, and they're not going to want to jump ship straight away. So I'd say realistically, maybe Slaven Bilic, but that's if they don't take a job in the next six months. That's, you just can't really put a finger on it and who it's going to be, but probably
Calum.
I think I'm very like with Kieran. It's if I keep agreeing with him, but I think I'd like Eddie House in the terms of to bring in younger players and keep building for the future. Because he's got this thing where he likes working with younger players. It does do well for him. Like I feel like Slaven Bilic, he's one of the ones. If we could turn and say to him, "Oh, you can have that. Like you've got at least 3 years to build this team up and do something," then I reckon he could do no bad with it.
I'll tell you who I'd like, just to kind of break the mould a wee bit. Of course, I'd love both Bilic and Howe. I'm not saying none of those two because I think they would be a fantastic shout. He's currently 8-1 to be sacked at his job in the Premier League right now, but I would love the appointment of Graham Potter. I think Potter would be a good manager.
You're going to say that? I wouldn't mind him, to be honest with you, because he was the Ostersunds manager, wasn't he?
Aye, that's right. You know, went up to Sweden, done a good job there for a while. I think he's been very harshly critiqued by Brighton fans in the minute. A lot of them wanting to see him go. But I think he's played some very entertaining stuff with times at Brighton. I think he's had decent recruitment at Brighton. It's been a very big change from what they've seen with the likes of somebody like Chris Hughton beforehand in the Premier League.
Yeah, I don't know if that was Brighton's downfall, but try to play this sort of attractive brand of football. I think it would maybe suit us to come up here. They would have one of the biggest budget in Scotland. That, like, having a team that's challenging for the league and that, I think it would be a better fit for them than somebody that's going to be relegation fodder in the Premier League.
I'll tell you who could be a decent shout with the 41 odds of being sacked. Frank Lampard. Get him up. Lampard versus Gerrard on the touchlines, huh? Oh, jeez. Oh. That's just what we're
proving his sell. You give him in excess of hundreds of millions and they still can't do it.
Aye. Well, I've been peddling that the Lampard's a myth for the last 2 years and nobody seemed to believe me. And now it's getting proven. So no, I don't want Lampard up the road, I must say. And the final question for today I'm going to throw in is from Thomas, who I can only assume is an Arsenal fan, considering his hashtag is Arteta out. Do you think you could have got more for Tierney, considering he is now a top 2 left back in the Premier League? And do you think Celtic fans were right to behave like they did when he left the club? Calum, first you.
I'm going to last point there. He should never have got the treatment they got when they left the club. It was always going to happen. It was never going to be one of these ones that signs when he's a boy, plays out his full career at Celtic. It was never going to be like that.
That doesn't happen now. It just doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't. It was always going to happen one time or another. I think we could have got more. I don't know. I mean, look, when we sold him to Arsenal, he was injured and he went down. So we know, like, the treatment he's got down there might be better than up here. We don't know. He's come back a brilliant player. He's been phenomenal playing for them. But there's nothing to guarantee we could have kept him fit and got like bigger amounts of money than what we did.
I know. I would like to quickly jump onto the point. He says one of the 2 best left backs in the Prem. I think he's the best left back in the Prem. I don't think Andy Robertson's better. I certainly don't think Luke Shaw is better. I don't think Ben Chilwell's better. I think Tierney is the best left back in the Prem. Kieran, your thoughts on number 1? Should we have got more? And number 2, should he have been treated the way he was?
I mean, everybody at the time knew his potential, how good he was going to be. So, in that sense, I feel at the time, I felt 25 million was daylight robbery. But as Calum said, he was injured all the time. It was quite a big gamble for a team to take him, considering the injuries that he did have. And obviously, you heard him talking on open goal and that. Whispers of retirement and all that. And so you never knew all this behind the scenes. So, and when the second point as well, about him leaving at the time, I admit I was one of the people that was very angry about it. But in hindsight, you can look back and kind of understand why he done it. And you realise that it's modern football and players just don't really, as you said, stick around for their full career. I think people might have been a bit more fooled with the whole Mr. Celtic thing, shouting down the megaphone and that. But I've got over it now. I wish him well done now.
I wish him well. I wish us well, considering we kind of get a fucking decent left back. But I'll do. But that's it. That kind of wraps up everything with the first episode of the Sellik the Thunder. As I said, as time goes on, we'll be back in a normal studio setting. It won't be through Zoom. We'll have maybe a wee quiz. Who am I? Hopefully, who am I for a fucking Celtic player? a few other things. And as the show grows and we get the other people involved in that, I'm sure it's going to be a good laugh. Kieran, very quickly, have you got anything you want to get off your chest? I've maybe not give you the opportunity to say before we go off, because you have been, I know the last 24 hours has been a stressful one for yourself.
I don't know if I'm trying to think back if I got everything off my chest about, like, ranting about all the stuff about, like, on Facebook and that. I just try to stay off Facebook now.
It's always the same. It's always the same pages that are like the places for in it. They've always got stupid like, oh, Celtic forever and ever. We will follow all these pages. You know, it's all the same names.
If I could maybe cap off one point, it's probably just the whole blind faith thing that's got us in the position that we are. People that protested last month and that to try and get a bit of change at Celtic were sort of looked down on by a certain section of the fans as being entitled Neds. Whereas, like, I seen a tweet yesterday saying boys that travel all the world following Celtic, all Europe and that, of getting called entitled to be Neds, not just because they're not been willing to accept the drop in standards that many older Celtic fans are sort of accustomed to. Fair enough, he sat through the 90s, but just because the 90s was worse than this doesn't mean that this is acceptable. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much the only point I've got to wrap up.
On yourself, son. On yourself. Bring a tear to a glass, aye. I like Calum, there's no fooling anybody. We all know Calum's a Ned.
Oh, cheers, I appreciate that. Probably one of the nicest things you've called me.
But boys, thank you very much for coming on for the first episode. It has been an honour, and I look forward to well, I'll probably see you on TSF beforehand, but I look forward to seeing you back on here again. We're busy boys nowadays, man. Who would have thought it? 2021, we're here to take over, man. Right, ladies and gents, make sure you like and subscribe. Kieran and Calum's ats for Twitter, and that will be all in the comment description bit below. Description, that's it. Kieran's not a YouTuber and he fucking knows. But thank you all for watching, and we'll see you or listening, and we'll see you all next time.